Have you ever felt the sting of someone's sudden silence? One day, they're laughing with you, making plans, responding eagerly to your messages. The next, nothing. No calls, no replies, just an unsettling quiet that leaves you questioning everything. Was it something you said? Did you unknowingly push them away? But here's the truth. When someone starts ignoring you, it's not random, it's a choice. They won't explain it, won't confront you about it. Instead, they'll quietly slip away, leaving you to piece together the fragments of what once was. And while it may feel personal, in many cases, it's not about you at all. Some people distance themselves because they no longer need anything from you. Others withdraw because your growth unsettles them, making them feel smaller in comparison. And then there are those who were never truly invested in the first place, just passing through as long as it served them. But here's where your power lies. You don't need to chase after them. You don't need to beg for explanations or try to win back their attention. The real strength comes from understanding why this happens and refusing to take it personally. So why do people suddenly disappear from your life? And what does it really mean? Stay until the end, because the final reason will change how you see everything. But before we dive in, let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this wisdom. The story of Ethan. Ethan was the kind of person everyone liked. Warm, dependable, always willing to lend a hand. He thrived in friendships, always making time for others. But one day something changed. His messages went unanswered. The people who once sought him out now barely acknowledged him. Conversations that were once effortless suddenly felt cold and distant. At first he thought, maybe they're just busy. But deep inside, a question gnawed at him. Why are they ignoring me? Frustrated, Ethan sought out his old mentor, Mr. Harris, a retired psychologist known for his wisdom. "Sir," Ethan sighed, "I don't understand. People who once valued me now act like I don't exist. What did I do wrong?" Mr. Harris simply smiled, then handed Ethan a candle and a match. "Light this candle," he said. Ethan struck the match and watched as the small flame flickered in the dim room. "Now," Mr. Harris continued, "bring it close to that open window." Ethan hesitated but did as he was told. Within seconds, a gust of wind snuffed out the flame. Mr. Harris leaned back, observing Ethan's confused expression. "That, my boy, is why people ignore you." Ethan frowned. "I don't understand." Mr. Harris chuckled. "A small flame stays lit when it's sheltered, but when it burns too brightly, it attracts the wind." And in that moment, realization struck. People don't always ignore you because they dislike you. Sometimes they ignore you because your growth makes them uncomfortable. You were once on their level, familiar, predictable, easy to relate to. But when you evolve, when you improve, when you outgrow old habits, when you become more, some people begin to feel inadequate in your presence. Instead of rising with you, they choose to step away. That night, Ethan made a decision. He stopped chasing explanations. He stopped shrinking himself just to fit in. He stopped feeling guilty for outgrowing people who refuse to grow themselves. And in doing so, he found peace. Because he realized something profound. He wasn't being rejected. He was simply rising. A candle that burns too brightly will always stir the wind. But that doesn't mean you should dim your light just to stay visible to those unwilling to shine. Before we begin with the first reason, if you find value in these insights, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. That way, you'll always have access to wisdom that helps you navigate life with clarity and strength. Now, let's dive into the real reasons people suddenly start ignoring you. Reason 1. They no longer benefit from you. There are few things more frustrating than watching someone who once seemed genuinely invested in you suddenly disappear. One day they're reaching out, making plans, treating you like an important part of their life. The next, nothing. Silence. a cold distance that wasn't there before. And naturally, the first thought that comes to mind is, what did I do wrong? But here's the hard truth. Sometimes, it's not about what you did, it's about what they no longer get from you. Some people were never truly there for you. They were there for what you offered. Maybe it was your support, your connections, your generosity, or even just the way you made them feel. But the moment they no longer need it, the moment they've taken what they can, or found someone else to replace that benefit, they vanish. Think of it like a power outlet. Devices stay plugged in only as long as they need to charge. Once they're at full battery, or find a better power source, they unplug without a second thought. That's exactly why some people disappear without warning. They weren't attached to you, they were attached to the energy they could drain from you. And this is where Stoic wisdom becomes essential. Epictetus once said, "Attach yourself to what is true, not to those who are temporary." That's the key. Stop attaching your worth to people who were only passing through. The right ones won't leave just because they no longer need something from you. They stay because they value you, not just what you provide. It's a painful realization, but one that brings clarity. There was a time when I mistook someone's presence in my life as genuine friendship. They were always around, always reaching out, until I stopped giving. Not in a rude way, but simply to see if they'd reach out without needing something from me. They didn't. The calls stopped, the messages disappeared, and that's when it hit me. Our connection wasn't built on mutual care, it was built on convenience. So, how do you handle this? Recognize the signs. If someone only shows up when they need something, pay attention. Stop chasing people who leave. If they disappear the moment you stop providing, let them go. Invest in real connections. True relationships aren't built on transactions. They're built on respect and care. At the end of the day, some people will leave when they can no longer benefit from you. Don't take it personally. Take it as a lesson. Because the ones who stay, they're the ones who were meant to. Reason 2. They're testing your reaction. Some people don't ignore you because they've lost interest. They do it to see how much you care. It's not an accident, it's a tactic. One day they're engaged, responsive, making conversation effortless. The next, silence, no replies, no effort. A sudden shift that leaves you wondering what went wrong. But here's the truth. In many cases, nothing went wrong at all. They're watching, waiting, seeing if you'll reach out first, if you'll double text, over-explain, ask, "Did I do something?" They want to know whether their absence affects you, whether you'll chase them, whether they have control over your emotions. It's a test, and the moment you take the bait, they win. Think of it like tug of war. If they drop the rope, they're hoping you'll pull harder, that you'll fight for their attention. But what happens if you don't? The game stops, the power shifts. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Who needs least from others is the most powerful. True strength isn't found in proving your worth to someone who plays games. It's found in refusing to participate. When you stop chasing, stop justifying, stop reacting, you become untouchable. And the ones who were testing you, they lose their grip. There's a simple way to spot this game. If someone is warm one day, distant the next, and only re-engages when you pull away first, it's a pattern. They aren't ignoring you because they're busy or because something is wrong. They're doing it to see if you'll come running. The best response? No response at all. Let silence be your answer. Let them wonder. And most importantly, remember that real connections don't require tests. The people who truly belong in your life won't need to manipulate you to feel valued. They'll simply value you. Reason 3. They're influenced by others. Sometimes people don't walk away because of anything you did. They walk away because of what they've been told. One day they're warm, engaging, treating you like someone who matters. The next, there's a shift. Suddenly, they're distant, uninterested, even avoiding you. And you're left wondering, what changed? Here's the truth. Some people don't form their own opinions. They let others think for them. Instead of coming to you for clarity, they listen to whispers, rumors, and outside influence. They don't question the source. They don't seek the truth. They simply believe what they hear. Think of it like a leaf in the wind. A strong tree stays rooted no matter how hard the wind blows, but a weak leaf, it gets carried in any direction, tossed around by whatever force is strongest at the moment. People who are easily influenced are the same way. They don't have a solid foundation of their own. Instead of standing firm in what they know about you, they sway wherever external forces push them. And that's exactly why some people change the way they treat you. Not because they suddenly see you differently, but because someone else made them question you. And here's where Stoic wisdom comes in. A mind that can be easily swayed was never truly yours to begin with. People with real integrity seek truth, not rumors. If someone can be turned against you that easily, consider it a lesson, not a loss. There was a time when someone I considered a close friend started acting differently. No argument, no misunderstanding, just a noticeable shift. At first I thought they were just busy, but then I heard through someone else that they had been told something false about me, and instead of coming to me for the truth, they simply believed it. I had two choices: chase them down, try to explain myself, and beg them to see the truth. Let them go, and let time reveal everything. I chose the second. I didn't defend myself. I didn't correct the rumors. I simply moved on. And months later, that same person reached out. They realized the person who fed them lies had done the same to others. But by then, I had already moved forward. Because I had learned something important. Anyone who can be that easily manipulated was never truly on my side to begin with. How to handle this? Don't defend yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. If they don't value the truth enough to ask, they don't deserve an explanation. Let people reveal their loyalty. A real friend won't let gossip dictate their perception of you. Be grateful for the clarity. If someone is weak enough to be swayed, they were never a solid part of your life to begin with. At the end of the day, you don't lose real people. You only lose illusions. Let the weak-minded drift away and surround yourself with those who think for themselves. Reason 4, they feel intimidated by your growth. One of the most unexpected reasons people distance themselves from you has nothing to do with conflict, misunderstandings, or mistakes. It happens simply because you're growing, and they're not. They liked you as long as you stayed on their level, when you shared the same habits, the same mindset, the same limitations. But the moment you start improving, setting higher goals, and becoming a better version of yourself, something changes. Not in you, but in them. Instead of celebrating your progress, they start pulling away, and not because they hate your success, but because your success reminds them of everything they could be, but aren't willing to work for. Think of it like climbing a mountain. In the beginning, you and a friend are hiking together. The journey feels easy, the conversations are effortless, and you're moving side by side. But at some point, you push harder. You start climbing higher, picking up your pace, setting your sights on the peak. And that's when they start slowing down. They begin complaining about how hard the climb is. They suggest turning back, or worse, they start resenting you for continuing upward. Then, suddenly, they stop, and they say something like, "You've changed." But what they really mean is, "I can't keep up." Instead of using your growth as motivation to climb higher themselves, they choose to stay behind, because it's easier for them to let you go than to confront their own stagnation. And here's where Stoic wisdom comes in. Do not shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Grow and let them choose to keep up. Your growth is not an attack on anyone. It's a test of who is willing to rise with you. I once had a friend. Let's call him David. For years we were on the same path, same mindset, same daily routines. But then something shifted. I started focusing on self-improvement, reading more, setting bigger goals, changing the way I approached success. At first, David seemed supportive. "That's amazing, man, keep going," he'd say. But as I kept progressing, his energy changed. The joke started. "Oh, so now you're better than us," always said in a playful tone but with a sharp edge. Then the jokes turned into excuses. "Man, you're too busy for me now." And eventually I realized something. He wasn't celebrating my growth anymore. He was looking for ways to downplay it. One day I decided to confront him. Nothing aggressive, just a simple, "Hey, I feel like things are different between us. What's going on?" He shrugged. "You've just changed, man. I don't know, it's like you're trying too hard." That's when I understood. I hadn't changed too much. He had stayed the same. Instead of being inspired, he was intimidated. Instead of growing with me, he chose to step away. How to handle this? Don't shrink yourself. If someone can't handle your growth, that's their battle to fight, not yours. Pay attention to energy shifts. If someone starts distancing themselves when you level up, they were never truly rooting for you. Let them go with peace. Not everyone is meant to continue the journey with you. And that's okay. At the end of the day, growth comes with a price, the loss of those who refuse to grow with you. But the real ones, they won't just keep up, they'll push you even higher. Reason 5. You've exposed their true nature. Some people don't walk away because they lost interest. They don't distance themselves because they're busy. They disappear for one simple reason. You've started to see them for who they really are. There are people who thrive on deception, on half-truths, manipulation, and hidden motives. As long as you play along, as long as you don't question their actions, they'll stay close. But the moment you see through them, the moment you start recognizing their selfishness, dishonesty, or lack of integrity, they have only two options. 1. Change. 2. Leave. And most of them, they choose the second option. Not because you did anything wrong, but because it's easier for them to walk away than to confront their own flaws. Think of it like turning on the light in a dark room. At first, everything seems fine in the shadows. The room looks normal. But the moment the light switches on, you start noticing the mess, the dust, the stains, the things that were hidden in the darkness. Now, you can't unsee it, and neither can they. That's exactly what happens when you recognize someone's true nature. The moment the light of truth shines on them, they run, not because you changed, but because they can no longer pretend. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The truth offends only those living a lie. A person who is honest, accountable, and genuine has nothing to fear from the truth. But those who thrive on deception, they will hate it, because it exposes them. I remember someone in my life who always played the victim. Every conflict, every problem, it was never their fault. They always had an excuse. And for a long time, I believed them. I defended them. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. But then small things started not adding up. Little contradictions, stories that didn't make sense, moments where their mask slipped. So one day, I did something different. I stopped blindly accepting their excuses. I started asking direct questions. I started holding them accountable. And their reaction? Instant defensiveness. Suddenly, I was being too harsh. Suddenly, I was overanalyzing. Suddenly, I was not the same person anymore. And then, they vanished. No real explanation, just distance. Because once I stopped playing along, they had nothing left to gain. How to handle this? Don't regret seeing the truth. It may be painful, but it's always better than living in a lie. Let them go. If someone disappears when they can no longer deceive you, they were never genuine in the first place. Stand firm in your integrity. The right people will appreciate your honesty. the wrong ones will run from it. At the end of the day, the truth doesn't destroy real relationships, it only destroys the false ones. And the people who relied on deception, let them disappear, because you're better off without them. Reason 6. You've stopped playing by their rules. Some people don't distance themselves because they lost interest. They distance themselves because they lost control. At first, it feels confusing. Someone who was once close to you suddenly becomes distant. They stop reaching out, stop including you. Maybe they even start acting cold. But when you take a step back, you realize something. Their behavior changed because yours did. Here's the truth. Some people stay in your life only as long as they can dictate how you think, act, or respond. The moment you stop playing along, the moment you stop tolerating their guilt trips, their subtle manipulation, or their need for control, they pull away. Not because you did something wrong, but because they never saw you as an equal, only as someone they could influence. Think of it like a puppet with cut strings. As long as the strings are intact, the puppeteer decides every movement. When you speak, how you react, what you do. But what happens when the strings are cut? The puppet no longer moves the way they want, and instead of adjusting to this change, the puppeteer simply walks away, because without control, they lose interest. That's exactly how manipulators operate. The moment you stop reacting the way they expect, they pull back, not because you changed in a bad way, but because they lost their power over you. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The price of independence is the loss of those who wanted you dependent. True independence means standing firm in your values, even when it costs you relationships. People who truly respect you will adjust to your boundaries, but those who only valued their ability to control you, they'll disappear. And that's not a loss, it's a blessing. There was someone in my life who constantly tried to control my emotions. If I disagreed with them, they'd guilt-trip me. If I set a boundary, they'd tell me I was being unfair. For a long time I played along. I kept the peace, thinking that if I just avoided conflict, things would get better. But one day I stopped. I chose not to explain, not to justify, not to apologize for standing my ground. And their response? They vanished. No conversation, no argument, just distance. At first it felt like a loss, but then I realized it wasn't. It was freedom. How to handle this? Recognize the pattern. If someone only sticks around when they can control you, it's not a real connection. Stop justifying yourself. The moment you stop explaining and start acting, they lose their power. Let them walk away. If someone only valued you when they could influence you, their absence is a sign you're moving in the right direction. At the end of the day, not everyone will celebrate your independence. But the ones who leave, they were only there for the control, not for you. Let them go. Stand firm in who you are. Reason 7. It's a blessing in disguise. At first, being ignored feels like rejection. It makes you question yourself, replay conversations in your mind, and wonder what you did wrong. But here's the truth. Being ignored isn't a loss, it's a filter. People who suddenly stop acknowledging you, who distance themselves without explanation, are revealing something important. They were never truly meant to stay. And instead of seeing this as something to grieve, what if you saw it for what it really is? A blessing in disguise. Think of it like a tree shedding its dead leaves in autumn. Does the tree fight to hold on to them? No, it lets them go. Not because it's broken, not because it's lacking, but because it's making space for new, stronger growth in the spring. That's exactly how life works. Some people are seasonal. They were never meant to grow with you long term, and when they walk away or ignore you, they're creating space for the right people to enter your life. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Do not grieve those who walked away. Be grateful they revealed themselves. If someone can ignore your presence so easily, it means they never truly valued it. And that's not a loss, it's clarity. I once had a friend who was always around, until they weren't. No argument, no falling out, just silence. At first, I felt confused, even hurt. Did I do something wrong? I considered reaching out, trying to fix something I didn't even understand. But then I made a choice. I didn't chase. Days turned into weeks, and I realized something. I had always been the one keeping the friendship alive. I was the one checking in, making plans, maintaining the connection. And when I stopped, they didn't even notice. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't lost a real friend. I had lost the illusion of one. That silence, it was the answer I never knew I needed. How to handle this? Shift your mindset. Being ignored isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a revelation of theirs. Don't chase people who choose to leave. If someone's absence is that easy, their presence was never real. Focus on those who stay. Real connections don't need constant proving or pursuit. They just exist, naturally and effortlessly. At the end of the day, silence is not something to fear. It's something to be grateful for. Because the ones who ignore you, they just made room for the ones who truly see you. So if you've ever wondered why someone suddenly distanced themselves, if you've ever felt the sting of being ignored, understand this: it's not always about you. People leave for different reasons. Some walk away because they can no longer control you. Others disappear because they were never truly invested. And some distance themselves because your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation. But here's what matters most. You don't need to chase, beg, or prove your worth to anyone. Being ignored isn't a rejection, it's redirection, a filter, a lesson, a sign that you're evolving beyond certain people, beyond certain dynamics. And when you stop chasing, when you embrace the silence instead of fearing it, you take back your power. Because the truth is, the right people, the ones who genuinely value and respect you, will never need to be tested, manipulated, or pursued. So let the ones who walk away, walk. Keep growing, keep rising, and trust that the people who are meant to be in your life, they will always find their way to you. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this. And remember, your energy is valuable. Give it only to those who deserve it.